Hey guys, this is Mr. C, a layman, or Mr. Cologne from Reinforce My Faith, and I wanted to do another affiliate link grift, this time some essential books on Catholicism that I have that I wanted to share with you guys that I thought would be great for those starting off or need a little reinforcement when it comes to Catholicism as a faith. I wanted to bring that to you guys, and let us start with the first one, which is a catechisms. And catechisms are very important as they promote and bring forth the faith. I have here the two catechisms of the post 1958, the traditional 1992 catechism, which has been revised in 97. So this version, the second edition. It has further been revised another time with some additional notes on the death penalty by Pope Francis. But one of the things is that's just aesthetic. I love this cover, one of my favorite covers. And one of my things that I mentioned that which was part of my logo with the gold and the white, very, very nice, very elegant. And this here it has fantastic, I think, type and writing as well. And you can't go wrong with the Catechism of the Catholic Church, the 97 or second edition. And I haven't not seen the third edition or revision, which is probably 99% the same except for that paragraph on the capital punishment. But something that I'll do a video in the future about the catechism and what it says about the differences between the three different catechisms of the Vatican II era. We have this one. This is like a side version of the catechism. The compendium is basically, can we turn the catechism into a question and answer format like the Baltimore Catechism? And that is what this is, the compendium. I like it as an addition to the catechism. I think the catechism by itself is fine, but as an addition, and if you're reading the catechism, you want to get through it from A to B as opposed to being a reference guide, this probably the go-to book. Really pushed by Pope Benedict XVI, and I think it's an addition to the actual catechism. And now I have here the pre-1958 catechisms. There's a lot of them. The one I don't have, but that I mentioned also in the link below for you to buy, would be the Ultimate Six Catechisms, which include the Didache, the Baltimore Catechism, all the first three versions. There's four versions of it. Each version, number one is for smaller kids, number two for older kids than that, and number three would be for high schoolers, and fourth will be for adults. This only has versions 1, 2, and 3. I think it's overkill, but we'll talk about that because I have here the Baltimore Catechism, all four versions in one volume. A little bit overdone there, but it is. What did I want this one? If you're really going to get a Baltimore Catechism, get either 3 or 4. 4 is basically a long explanation of the answer in question. I think 3 is good enough. I would start with 3 and work your way up to 3, especially if you're an older teenager and older. Start with 3. And in the future, I'll probably get a hardcover of this or just buy number 3 or 4 separately. But I think this is still a good version to buy. And this is the one that I have, so I wanted to show that off. I do have in the links just the link for just to buy Baltimore Catechism version 3, and also all these are linked below, but the ones I suggest more than the other ones because my suggestions are either good to great. So all these are good, and I would say great would be Baltimore Catechism number 3, and then this second edition for post 1958 catechism. So the Sixth Catholic Anthology, I've seen it. It's great. The only part is less quantity over quality. It's just a bunch of pages put together. It's not as ideal as I would like it to be in terms of the font and just formatting in general. That would be a problem with all of these compilations, would be just the formatting and just additional notes. So just think of that moving forward. But catechisms are one of the things that are essential for Catholic to understand and know what the faith teaches. There's other learning tools, but catechisms straight from the church are the best thing to start. Next will be missals. I do not have a Novus Ordo missal with me. That is a post-Vatican II missal. What I have here is St. Joseph Missal. And the links below have a link for the daily Roman Missal, and then a larger link for you can look at all the different traditional Latin Mass missals, so you can choose which one will be your favorite and which one is the one that you select. I think it's latinmassmissals.com or something to that effect. And you can see the 3 versions, and then they have different type and different ways of presenting the same material. So unless I have it in front of me and I can flip through it, I can't really give a final verdict on it. I'm happy with my St. Joseph one here, Daily Missal, but we have Angelus Press and other Baronius Press and other St. Andrew's Missals that are great as well. It even tells you the number of ribbons that it comes with as well. So very, very cool. And it tells you the typeset and the page count. So yeah, I like this one. This cover was separate, but I got it at, I think, as a used bookstore. So very, very, very awesome. So yeah, St. Joseph, patron saint of the Universal Church, St. Joseph, terror of demons. So I like to keep that in mind as well. So a good missal. You can always find the ones that are just Sunday missals or the lectionary readings for the Novus Ordo. And I think there's a 3-volume set. There's cycle A, B, and C. I think there's some by Word on Fire with Father Baron. That'd be good to have, but to me, they're not essential. But I wanted to talk about essentials, which would be catechisms, missals, and then something we previously talked about in Bibles. That is the different Catholic Bibles. But I guess since I was talking about Latin missals, I wanted to talk about the Treasure and Tradition, Ultimate Guide to the Latin Mass. Different books about teaching you what the Latin Mass is. This is one that I found that I love because of the illustrations. It is not as handy as a missal. Is more like understanding what the Latin Mass was and what happened. So it's kind of bulky. You essentially be having like 2 books if you go to a Latin Mass and have this in front of you. So very cool. I have here Sacred Heart Traditional. And this one doesn't have the actual readings in the traditional Latin Mass. But anyways, it's very cool. It's my favorite in terms of this category. If there are better or other suggestions, please comment below and let me know. And yeah, it's a beautiful also. It's just beautiful overall. So very happy with it. So moving on to Bibles. I was going to start with Bibles, but since I did a GRIFT, affiliate link GRIFT of Bibles specifically and Bible studies, this will be kind of faster. And it's basically the Ignatius Study Bible, New Testament. I wish they had the Old Testament to have a complete edition. I just saw a video minutes ago for Scott Hahn, but it said it was 3 years ago saying that he was a month away from completing the Old Testament, which I don't know what happened. It's been 3 years. I've been tweeting at him and also Ignatius Press to see, wait, what's going on? When can I get the full Bible with they sell the full revised standard version of the Old and New Testament together in one book, but not the study notes like this one does. And the study notes here are second to none when it comes to post-1958, post-Vatican II translations, editions, I should say. So if you get my suggestion is the revised standard version, not the NRSV, but the RSV, revised standard version, Catholic edition. Any edition you get will be fine. There's a Didache, Ignatius Study Bible, and other versions. I think the Word on Fire is also RSV. That is the translation you should get, not that NAB stuff. Get the RSV Catholic edition. And then for those in traditional minded, pre-1958, the Douay-Rheims translation, the King James Bible for Catholics. I have here separate editions as I found them. Is the Old Testament. I think this was a birthday gift to myself because I couldn't find the Douay-Rheims together. But I'll probably trade it in these two eventually to get the hardcover of the actual Douay-Rheims Haydock edition, specifically because of the notes. So not only do you get the Douay-Rheims translation, but the Haydock one is one with the traditional notes that also illuminate. And maybe in the future, when I have power and money, I would redo this and have better typeset and just maybe brackets instead of having Arabic numbers as opposed to Latin numbers, which that's not what this is called, but Roman numerals. Roman numerals, and then instead of Isaiah's, have Isaiah and have the new, I guess the more common names as opposed to the traditional names. That way you can have like Haydock Bible, definitive edition or modern edition. I probably want to say modern, but revised edition or something that says Haydock fixed edition or something that just indicates that it's the Haydock. We didn't take anything out. It just looks better and it's easier to understand. So maybe easier for modern audiences. And this one here is the New Testament. It's by itself, obviously 27 books as opposed to 46, so it's a little smaller. And this one actually has the Catholic Bible Dictionary, which I did not realize that, because I think there's a set that comes with Old Testament, New Testament, and then the dictionary by itself. But this one has it together, so I did not realize that when I got it. So that is very cool. And I need to take a better look at this. So I usually go to the Ignatius Catholic Study Bible, or have an RSB somewhere in the back that I go to when I have a physical Bible. So, all right. So these are the Bibles. So the rest are going to be different categories, but I wanted the first initial categories of the Catechism, a good Catechism, a good Missal, and a good Bible to get you started with Catholicism. And here we have Chief Truths of the Faith, A Course in Religion by Father John Laux. And there's different versions here. There's one's about the faith, others about, I'm trying to see here, make the screen bigger. Oh, it's cut off, but different aspects of apologetics, which I'll talk about soon. And this is just the chief truths of our faith. So basically going over what Catholics believe and giving a reason for it, like a Baltimore Catechism, but it's in its own way. It's a 10 classic. So right now I'm looking the fall, the work of creation, the work of 7 days. So it really gives you a great overview of the truth about your faith. So this was written for teenagers, and so it's easier to understand. So he'll come back around. So keep your eye out for Father Laux. Next, we have here a TLDR, too long, did not read, Catechism at Glance. I have this here because I used it one of my first things when I took my faith seriously in confirmation. It's like, okay, and I get number 1, transmission of divine revelation, number 2, the Trinity, number 3, God the Father, and this basically gives you the sacraments, kind of like a catechism in a same form, in six pages basically. So you get the essentials of the faith, post Vatican II, but I think it's still pretty good. So I recommend this just to have. And yeah, Catechism at Glance. Next is Catechism Source Book. This one, it's a recent find, but I just love how it's laid out. I love that effect. It gives you a lot of prayers. I love that it's like a section on symbols. Yes, it's a post-Vatican II book. I think there's a newer edition too. This is, I think, the edition when Pope Benedict XVI was reigning. We have here also glossary, devotions to the Eucharist, sacraments, and just different things. I love. It's one of the best, I guess, source books is really to talk about it. The 10 chapters include prayers, an overview of tradition, scripture, church liturgy, liturgical year, devotions in the church, veneration of saints and heroes, Catholic symbols, and word, phrase, and origins. So it's really to learn, renew, teach, and live the risen life of the Jesus Christ in the Catholic Church. So yes, one of the outstanding works. And they have a scripture one, which I'm eager to get. So when I redo this or have a follow-up, I can talk about if the scripture source book is good. I assume so, but I have not seen the inside or tell you about it. So yeah, awesome. It has charts and stuff. So kind of another TLDR, but with more information. My Catholic Faith by Reverend Morrow. This is a traditional explanation of the Catholic faith. And by traditional, I mean by used by traditionalists. It's basically an introduction to Catholicism. Instead of this version, the post-Vatican II version by Didache series is the one by for Vatican II, and it's really has great pictures and great slides. I bought it for my friend as a wedding gift, and I want to get a version of my own. I don't have a version of my own, and some of these you can get for free online or take a look at them online. Most of it are not the complete book, but that is a good thing to have, and that's going to be part of my library. I just don't have it with me, but just wanted to point it out and to let you guys know that. I'll put it here for now. That it is a worthwhile investment, and it's also one that's just a solid book to know about your faith. And here we have the two first the sources of Catholic Dogma by the Dezinger and Ludwig Ott, Fundamentals of the Catholic Faith, Fundamentals of Catholic Dogma. So one, which is Dezinger, really just lists the different teachings from the apostles all the way till I think a little bit post Vatican II, but not too much. Actually, it tells you here where does it end? Pius XII. So it ends right before 1958. So traditionalists will love this book, Sources of Catholic Dogma, but it just lists the dogma. This one does similarly, Ox, and that's the one I more recommend out of the both. Get both, but if you're going to get one, get this one because he actually talks about it a little bit more, gives more commentary. So it does start off with the different doctrines and where they originate and from scripture and tradition. So it is a great look at it. Talk to any Catholic apologists, Catholic theologians, from Catholic answers live to I can't think who would be the most conservative one from there right on top of my head, but this is a must-have, and I highly recommend both books, Sources and Fundamentals of Catholic Dogma. But if you're gonna only pick one, get Fundamentals by Ludwig Ott, and I think they have a version that's a soft cover that's a little less expensive, but these are definitive must-have, especially if you want to go beyond the 101 and 102 in terms of Catholicism. You want to go beyond the essentials. You want to get deeper into the faith. These are must-haves as well. All right. The Pope Against Modern Errors is actually a compilation of papal encyclicals and documents that have to do with the heresy of modernism, the synthesis of all heresies, the worst of the heresies. And this one, it has different documents on liberalism, on current errors, quantum cura, on syllabus of errors at Pope Pius IX. What other ones are pretty good here? Rerum Novarum, which is a social encyclical, which we'll talk about social encyclicals in the next slide. This one has this modernism, Pascendi, the ideal or the default one that when you talk about heresies, a modern heresy, specifically modernism. And then we have the Oath Against Modernism by St. Pius X, Quas Primas, and then celebration of Quas Primas, the celebration of Christ the King, especially with the Christ the King controversy. This is a fantastic book. All of these are from before 1958. So 16 papal documents. It's a compilation, right? In the future, I would love to have just a compilation there of each pope and what they wrote. So that's not out, at least not that by. What I mean is basically Pope Pius IX, all of his documents in one book physically. Maybe as an appendix to the books that he wrote before he was Pope, and then the books that he wrote when he was a Pope, or writings, and then also his oral teachings that he might have talked about in physical form. That'll be great to have. So, but yeah, so starting from the French Revolution onward, the Pope Against Modern Errors. And next, it's a compilation I don't have. Before I move on, obviously these individually you can find them online at New Advent or just different places. I think Vatican.com by themselves. So these are not hard to get. Just the convenience of being a compilation and put into one place. So a reader in Catholic teaching basically gives you like Rerum Novarum, the first social encyclical about social teaching and social justice. All of them in one book. There's different books that compile these teachings. I love Dr. Kowensky's. I said that wrong, and he's a big traditionalist, but I apologize. But he gives a brief introduction, and also the best thing that he does, he compiles ones that are strictly from the magisterium, and some of them like to throw that USCCB and Bishop's Conference as opposed to just keeping it to the popes and higher authority. So I like that a lot better. So keep that in mind. And it's a great compilation. If not, you can find these individually. And some of this overlap, like Renovarum is here and is also found here, right? That's one of the problems with compilations. Sometimes you find repetition, but I think it's a good source to have so far. Speaking of compilations, some of these are excerpts. I think most of these are excerpts, but the fact that this is like one of the best collections that I found that really takes a historical approach and really gives you the most out of the different church fathers and doctors and things like Dante's Inferno or Thomas Aquinas's Summa Theologiae. It gives you excerpts just to give you a taste of the richness of the Catholic tradition. And this is like the best book on called Catholic Wisdom, the Treasury of Catholic Wisdom, by Father John Hardin, S.J., by Angelus Press. So this is really fantastic, and I recommend this to all Catholics. And this is one of my higher recommendations. I said all these books were good to great. This is one of the great ones here. It should be in every shelf. Because you can it's a portable Catholicism basically in terms of writings. So you talked about what the church teaches and catechisms. It could get boring maybe or repetitive, but here, since it's teachings of these different saints and different individuals from Fulton Sheen and G.K. Chesterton to Augustine and John Chrysostom, it's a fantastic work. So I highly, highly recommend this work as well. Salvation, one of my newer books, and I have it here. This is part of a new series. The series is What Every Catholic Should Know. I personally have the Salvation series, philosophy, and then human literature as well. There's other versions, but I love this one. This is almost like a successor to Jimmy Akin's Salvation Controversy. And it is, let me focus the camera, it's a little bit unfocused. I don't know what is wrong, but let me just make it smaller and I can talk this way. The Salvation Controversy by Jimmy Akin. This is a lot better. It basically talks about the differences between Catholics and Protestants when it comes to salvation, what Catholics believe about salvation, what it has to do with works, what it has to do with grace. It has a great introduction by Brent Petrie, our forward, I should say. And Augustine Institute and Angelus Press doing fantastic things with these series. I love how it feels as well. I think they have great soft covers. And Salvation by Michael Patrick Barber, or Michael Barber, one of the great modern Catholic scholars from the Bible, him, Scott Hahn, Brent Petrie, John Bergsma, among others who really are, doing great work when it comes to showcasing the Bible. And I think he uses a lot of his scriptural background to really bolster the notion of what Catholics believe. And so fantastic book on salvation. There's others. Like I said, I have the one on literature and one on philosophy. But Peter Kreeft is philosophy for a guy who wrote literature. But yeah, great little series. Understanding the scriptures is something that speaking of Scott Hahn, and actually this was, let's see, signed by Scott Hahn. You can see there. You have the Catholic Nation Study Bible, but if you're going to go and get a book, which is really a textbook and a book that I went in person studying the Bible to high school ninth graders, is the book that we use, the complete semester edition. It is fantastic, explaining what the Bible is, 73 books, and how covenants are really the through line between the Old and New Testament, and how typology works, and how Jesus fulfills both the Old and the New Testament. Fulfills the Old Testament and the New Testament, I should say. So it is a fantastic book. If you're going to get only one book on scriptures besides the Bible, I would recommend this book. Seriously, I know I said if you only get one book, well, get a good Bible. After a good Bible, you want to learn more about the Bible, this is the second book to get. Forget the other books. Well, not totally forget them, but this is the standard, and I don't know when it's going to be beat. But get an RSV translation, and then get a Douay-Rheims, and then get Understanding the Scriptures to get a deeper understanding of the Bible in total. We have here Peter Kreeft was mentioned earlier. Kreeft, this and Father Ronald Tischeli, Handbook of Catholic Apologetics. Fantastic book on apologetics. The difference, the only issue I have with this book is like they also came before this book. They came out with a book called Handbook of Christian Apologetics, which is a mere Christianity type of Protestant arguments. So what they just did is added a couple of chapters that has to do with specifically Catholic things and kept the first part of the basically almost like stapled it onto it. So it's not as, I wish it was a further revision, a really integrated Catholic belief throughout the book as opposed to just stapling it in the back. So that's my only negative. But besides that, it is still a great book to use, especially for Catholics, and it is highly recommended. I just wish it was a better revision at smoothing out of that issue. But in terms of apologetics, the resurrection, God, existence of God, it's really fantastic. So I recommend. Peter Kreeft is a great theologian, but he, like N.T. Wright at times, seems to come up with one book and then remakes it or takes part of it and resells it. So I want to be careful with him. So I have this book by him. I'm going to have another book on Aquinas, and I have, I mentioned earlier from this series, what Catholics should know, he has a philosophy book, one of his newer books. So Peter Kreeft is a great guy. So I would highly recommend those editions as well. And Socrates' Children as well, even though it's written for, I think, teenagers or maybe even smaller children. The fact that he goes over like 100 plus philosophers and really gets you an understanding of who the philosophers are and what they had to say. And he always with a Catholic Christian lens. So Catholic Apologetics is a book that I recommend if you're going to do apologetics. This one's really good, especially for post Novus Ordo, post 1958 Catholicism. This is apologetics from a traditional understanding. So it really deals with more traditional issues like no salvation outside the church and things of that nature. So I would just get the series, and maybe in the future, this Course in Religion series will exist together as one big hardcover volume, because I think they're all worthwhile. The scriptures, the chief truths of the faith. So very interested and very happy to promote Catholic Apologetics by Father Laux, especially if it's a traditional version. All right, you can get a set of the early church fathers, which I have, or always find them online. But this here, there's other excerpts. This one's it goes by topic of the different early church fathers believed on a certain topic, and just have an excerpt from that. So kind of a proof text in a way. Grace, and like this one says sacraments, baptism. What does Saint Augustine say about baptism? What does Saint Ambrose say? So it's really it's picked for you, but I think it is still a great resource. And if you're gonna just start off with one book, when the early church fathers, you just want to get a big overview, I would recommend this book here, Teachings of the Church Fathers, compilation by John Willis. Vatican II, we were going to get to the book eventually. I don't have the Word on Fire versions. If I had to choose a Vatican II book, it would be those versions. I'm sure they're more orthodox. This is like a big old compilation of the documents, the constitutions, and the declarations, decrees, and also some post documents that clarify some teachings. So this is really, there's 16 documents, but this is the 16 plus documents. So really beat up. This is a news book, but I also used it at my graduate class. We had a Vatican II class. So it's a great little book. Sometimes I sell the one with gender inclusive language, but like I said, I would trade this one in for the Word on Fire versions. Too bad they're two different books, supposed to be one big book. I'd rather have a big book that's not too unwieldy than have separate editions. But I haven't seen how big they are. Maybe the notes and the extra material is so big that they had to split into two books. So, but yeah, Vatican II books, get the Word on Fire versions. They are below, listed in links below, like all these other books. So, but the one I have is this version here by Austin Flannery. I think this is the popular version when you find it like in used bookstores or if you go to like Barnes and Noble's Vatican II, this is usually the one you find, or one that's by Flannery. He has different editions. There's one that I saw that's taller. I guess it's gender inclusive language now, or something like that. But, or I should say bigger and bigger typeset. So. Confessions. So I have here St. Augustine's Confessions. This is the Frank Sheed edition version translation, and this one here is by the Britannica Great Books. And the reason I got this one is because it only has confessions. It has the, I was gonna say the Word of God, the City of God, and also on Christian doctrine. So it has all three books. They're complete here. Obviously, you get more, but yet it's the typeface is not the best. And the Ignatius edition, which it's the link that I'm providing for you, it's the best in terms of not only a solid translation, but a great introduction and great notes to go along with it. So I would get that version. And Father Sheet is pretty, like before the Ignatius edition came out, this would have been my default modern edition of St. Augustine's Confession. So there's penguin editions, but I like to have one from the heart of the church and people who believe. So yeah, this is fantastic. Alice there, McIntyre actually recommended this edition here. And this one here is just because it includes City of God and on Christian doctrine as well as confession. So that's why I have it here. But the one you should probably get is the one I have there, the Ignatius edition, critical edition. So. And confession is also found in Treasury of Catholic Teaching, which I talked about earlier, the Treasury. But it's only an excerpt. This one actually has the complete book. So take that for what you will. I don't have a Treasury of Catholic Wisdom, I should say. That it's also found there. St. Augustine and also St. Thomas Aquinas is also found here. We have, or I have, a Summa. The Summa says that Peter Kreeft will be making a return. So he compiled this edition. And this edition is basically taking the Summa Theologica and trying to make it a little bit more understandable so you can follow along better. And, question and answer format is easier to follow and understand. And it's really great, I find. So if you're going to have one Thomas Aquinas book, I would say it's either this one and this one, because this one is just Aquinas, but it's an excerpt, Penguin Classics, Penguin editions. Like if I had enough money, I would probably get all the Penguin Classics books in a shelf. It's just, they have the best typeset. It's not the best, but it's also not the worst. It's like the best medium bargain Walmart kind, and that's not a knock against it. Some books, that's all you need, and it's the best place to start, to my opinion. So, and this has a different selection of just Summa Theologica, but also other his commentaries on the scriptures and other books. I'm just trying to look at the table of contents here. Yeah, and just a different excerpts. So it's pretty great to get to know who Thomas Aquinas was. This is a summary of the summary. So it's really Peter Kreeft's retranslation or edition of his questions, Aquinas' questions. And here's actually just Aquinas' words. Also split and taken by excerpts, but also easier to read. If anything, you can go get the 5-volume set. But I would think these are good starting points to get to know who Aquinas is. And again, you can also get to know who Aquinas is by getting the Catholic Treasury, the Treasury of Catholic Wisdom book. So people say, why not talk about Catholicism for Dummies or Catholicism for Idiots? I had Catholicism for Dummies. It was okay. I gave that one away a long time ago, got rid of it, and I haven't looked at the new editions yet, so I can't really recommend it because I don't really remember it or know it as well. So the books that I really talked about, the ones I showed you guys, these are 3 books that I think are kind of missing, glaring omissions from my collection. They're either in boxes where I don't have them. Most recent one, probably 100 Great Catholic Poems by the Word on Fire Press, published those. And I think it's, I looked through it and it's a fantastic book, which I'll hope to get in the future. The Life of Saints, 7 volumes by Father Butler. Butler's Lives of Saints is a standard. I don't have any edition, mainly because I want to get the right they made so many additions and revisions. I wanted to get the original 68 edition, or what does it say? No, it's older than that. It tells you right there. Oops. I can't read that what it says there, but it's yeah, 1883 or something. I can't see it, but the original editions are the ones that I gave you the link for. They're 7 volumes, so it's a little bit pricey, and they don't have a compilation of that or a Reader's Digest, a digest version of that. I think digest versions that come out now are modern. They take out saints like Simon of Trent and other saints. So I wanted to keep the original one, so that's the one I'm recommending, and I think that's a glorious omission on my part. And lastly, The Imitation of Christ by Thomas Kempis, one of the most popular books outside the Catechisms and the Bible and Catholicism is that book. And it is, again, one for Catholic Treasury has an excerpt from that book here, but might as well get the whole book. And I am recommending the TAN version because TAN is a solid with the orthodoxy or correct belief. So that is the best publisher I feel to have, although there is a Dover Classic. So any version that's not modern translation, if it's a new edition, that's fine, but if it's modern translation, that's fine. I'm a little iffy because they try to change things. So as long as they keep the spirit of that original text is what I recommend. I think that's just default for any edition of Shakespeare or Catholicism. Just be wary of new translation editions, and also the notes. Just make sure the people you trust, the people who are making the notes. So all right, so I should probably at this point I should probably make it bigger. These are all the books that I talked about. If they are in bold, are the ones that are recommended above the other books. As you can see, the different catechisms, traditional catechisms, especially the Baltimore Catechism. I have their Ignatius Study Bible. The RSV, just get any good RSV. My Catholic Faith by Bishop Morrow. The Fundamentals of Catholic Dogma. Treasury of Catholic Wisdom. Handbook of Christian Apologetics. Treasure and Tradition about the Latin Mass, the Confessions by St. Augustine, and those are the ones that I recommend above the others, although the other ones are great as well. I'm not going to knock those, but I want just to talk about the different essential books that I found that are for those Catholics who want to really build up the library and have some of these books that should be in every person's library. So that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about today. Hopefully you learned something, and even if you skip through the different chapters, you were able to see my brief description of each book and why they are important. So share, subscribe, and like. Thank you very much, guys, for your support. And I'll be bringing out new materials and talk about the book study and other exciting things that are going on. Go to reinforcemyfaith.com. Go to my link tree below. Check out the different affiliate links. And thank you so much for joining me on this little overview of books, and I hope you guys have a good night and seek the true, the good, and the beautiful. I've been Mr. Cologne or Mr. C. L. Lehman from Reinforce My Faith. Take care and God bless. Oops. And